Mercury goes retrograde tomorrow after 3 weeks of retrograde chaos. Oil swung $32 in 48 hours. The Louvre got robbed in broad daylight by guys on scooters. And a raccoon in Virginia broke into a liquor store, sampled everything on the bottom shelf, and passed out face down on the bathroom floor. The raccoon was released back into the wild, hopefully having learned his lesson. He didn't learn anything. Neither did the oil markets. Neither did the guy who cut the hole too small in the Louvre and dropped an $88 million crown trying to shove it through. Nobody learned anything this week, but at least the raccoon committed to his choices. I'm Mark Roach, and tonight I'm talking about why I don't want to do this anymore. And I want to tell you why that's the hottest sentence or the most honest sentence maybe anyone said all week. So let's talk about the raccoon. A raccoon broke into an ABC liquor store in Ashland, Virginia, crashed through a ceiling tile, sampled rum, moonshine, peanut butter whiskey, and vodka and eggnog, then passed out, wedged between a toilet and a trash can. Animal control found him 90 minutes later, sobered up, released him back into the wild. The official statement said, quote, hopefully having learned his lesson. Hopefully? Well, this raccoon is the most honest participant in the American economy right now. No pretense, no 5-year plan. Just, I'm going to go sample everything on the bottom shelf until I can't stand up, and then I'm going to pass out in the bathroom. That's the stock market. That's the DHS. That's the Pentagon briefing room. The animal control officer said, just another day in the life. That's the line. That's everyone. The raccoon didn't learn anything. You know how I know? Because learning a lesson was never the point. Showing up was. He showed up. He committed. He destroyed $250 worth of bourbon and woke up in a government facility with no memory of how he got there. He's living the dream. Meanwhile, a Pikachu card sold for $16.5 million. The raccoon had more fun. Now let me tell you about the Louvre. The Louvre got hit this week for 88 million euros in Napoleon's crown jewels. Guys used a furniture lift to get to the second floor, sawed through a window, smashed the display cases, grabbed the jewels, escaped on scooters in under 8 minutes in broad daylight, 270 yards from the Mona Lisa. And here's the best part. They dropped the crown because they cut the hole too small. They planned the heist of the century and fumbled it because they didn't measure the hole. 4 suspects caught, jewels still missing, crowns deformed, museum director resigned. The ambition to get to execution gap is 2026 in one image. And then there's the energy secretary. Well, this week, the U.S. Energy Secretary posted on social media that the Navy had escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. Markets spiked. The post was fake. Markets reversed. In one tweet from a cabinet member moved global oil prices for 11 minutes. Not a bot, not a teenager, from the energy secretary. For about 11 minutes, the global economy believed in him. Well, at least the raccoon committed. The energy secretary deleted the tweet. The Louvre guys dropped the crown. The raccoon woke up, looked around, and thought, yeah, I'd do that again. Here's what's actually happening. Oil hit $119 on Monday, $87 by Wednesday. A $32 whiplash in 48 hours. Governments dumped 4 million barrels of emergency reserves into the market, the largest release in human history. more than Russia, Ukraine, more than the Gulf War. And it moved prices by $6. Just another day in the life. And we monetized the anxiety. Kalshi and Polymarket, prediction markets where you bet on war outcomes and oil prices, are now worth $20 billion. That's not a financial instrument. That's a coping mechanism with a ticker symbol. You can literally bet on whether your spring break flight gets canceled because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. The Raccoon just skipped the middleman and went straight to the bourbon. But here's the thing that nobody's saying. The Raccoon isn't the problem. The guys on scooters aren't the problem. The fake tweet isn't even the problem. The problem is we all know it's a con. And we don't want to call it because admitting that you got your pants taken feels worse than pretending you still have them on. There's a story out of Bihar, India that I just can't stop thinking about. A 74-year-old retired Air Force veteran named Mohan Lal staged his own funeral. Full ceremony, beer, procession, chanting, weeping, neighbors. Hundreds of people showed up. And then, mid ceremony at the crematorium, he sat up, shocked everyone. And then he threw a feast for the entire village. He said, I wanted to witness it myself and see just how much respect and affection people gave me. That's one piece of data we're never allowed to have. We spend our entire lives wondering if we matter. People actually care, if the connection is real. And we've all accepted we'll never know. We'll perform it online, we'll hope, but we'll never test it. This guy refused to accept that. He built the test. And then he bought everyone dinner. The loneliness epidemic isn't about being alone. It's about performing connection, never knowing it's real. Social media gives you the metrics, likes, shares, comments, but if you still don't know, the algorithm knows, you don't. We've accepted a world where one question that matters most is, do I matter to anyone? Is the one question we're not allowed to ask directly. Mohan Lal didn't ask. He staged it. And the answer was yes. Hundreds of people, and he fed them. That's what real freedom feels like. Not, I hope I matter, but I tested it, and now I know. I spent a lot of years watching people perform themselves. Weddings, events, interviews, everyone performing the version they think the world wants to see. And the whole time, the question underneath is the same. Is this real? Am I real? Does anyone actually see me? Or are they just seeing the performance? Mohan Lal is that question taken to its logical extreme. He didn't want to guess, he wanted to know. And I respect that more than I can say, because most of us will never have the guts to ask the question out loud, let alone stage the funeral to get the answer. And here's the kicker. He built the village crematorium years ago. So he literally constructed the place where he was going to fake die just to see who showed up. That's not a midlife crisis. That's a commitment to a bit. So here's the uncomfortable truth. We don't always get what we wanted, but we always get what we need. Heard that before, huh? Bingo. Maybe you didn't win that pink Cadillac, and maybe that was a blessing. Maybe you didn't get the love of your life, and now you look back and you see they weren't really who you thought they were anyway. Whew. The grifters took your pants. The Raccoon drank your bourbon. The markets moved on a fake tweet. And you're still here. That's not failure, that's data. The question is whether you're going to read it. So this week, here's what I want you to do. Tell someone something that they do, that you encourage. Not like criticize, but that you encourage, which keeps you feeling safe but inhibited. I love that you always agree with me, but I think you need to push back more. I appreciate that you never ask me the hard questions, but I think I'm hiding from something, and I need you to ask. One conversation, one person, one truth you've been avoiding because it felt safer not to say it. Real freedom doesn't feel like winning or pounding your chest. It feels like finally admitting that you got calling, picking your lumps, and deciding you're done pretending you still have your pants on. Raccoon didn't pretend. Mohan Lal didn't pretend. This week, you don't have to pretend either. Mercury goes direct tomorrow and retrograde fog lifts. There's a berry in South Florida. They call it the miracle berry. It makes things taste sweet for 30 minutes. Hospitals give it to chemo patients so they can enjoy a meal. That's all any of us are trying to do. Make the bitter things sweet long enough to get through the week. The clarity is coming. You're closer than you think. Go read a book or do something you really believe in. I'm Mark Roach. This was Headroom Tonight. You still have your dignity. Forget where you put it. See you next week.
Yeah. Posted at the room, yeah, we trapping out the suite. Phone buzzing non-stop, got that work up on repeat. Blinds down low, curtains drawn, we don't sleep. Counted up the bag, now we back up on the street. Front desk, don't know what's going on in 303. Slide through the lobby like I got the master key. Every room a trap spot, every floor a different play. Checking after midnight, check out for the break of day. Trap at the hotel, trap at the hotel. Don't stop moving, everything for sale. Trap at the hotel, post it up and pay.